Welcome to Trek Table, your Sunday weekly podcast holding Trek space for
Black, Indigenous, Brown,
women of color,
queer or otherwise,
and our allies. Hey, what's up, and welcome to the Trek Table. I'm your host, Dayla, and today I'm holding Trek space for all the strong scientific. Let me start that again. I'm holding Trek space for all the strong women, scientific leaders in this episode and always on Star Trek Discovery.
Hello, I am your co-host Claudia, and today I am holding Trek space for the weird, for the bizarre, and I'm gonna pause because I've been asked to pause.
Awesome. Thank you to you two
Turbulence!
walkers.
Turbulence!
Thank you. Hi, I'm your host, Dayla, and today I'm holding Trek space for all the strong women scientific leaders in this episode and always on Star Trek Discovery.
And hello, I am your co-host Claudia, and today I am holding Trek space for the weird, for the bizarre, for the beautiful.
Hi, I'm your co-host Maya, and I'm holding Trek space for those who are struggling still, even when the world is expecting you to move on so quickly.
Hi, I'm your co-host Maya Mama, and I'm holding Trek space for the second part in life's cliffhanger.
Yes, and welcome to the Trek Table. We want to start by acknowledging that our teams for the Trek Table are on the unceded land of the Tongva, the Chumash, the Quiche, the Ohlone, Puyallup, Pawtucket, and Massachusetts peoples. We're grateful to the Indigenous stewards of these lands, the ancestors who've come before and those who are here now, and those who have yet to come. So I invite you, if you're listening or watching us on YouTube, joining us here at this Trek Table, let's go ahead and invite you to acknowledge the lands that you are on. And let's go ahead and take a breath in through our nose and out through our mouth. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, for joining us today as we hold Trek space for women of color here in front of our live digital audience on Outside In Theater's YouTube channel, as well as all y'all listening on the podcast archive.
Our opening track for this episode is titled Chicana Skies by the band Quetzal, off their album Quetzal. You'll be hearing several tracks by Quetzal throughout this episode of Trek Table. Follow them at Quetzal Music on Instagram and see our show notes or the chat for the link to their merchandise and more.
Yes, and welcome to episode 30 of the Trek Table. We are in the middle end of Mercury retrograde, and we're feeling it a little bit. The Jeffries tubes were a little bit fun this morning. So we want to say thanks so much, everybody, for showing up for this conversation with women of color about Star Trek. We're talking about Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 13, Such Sweet Sorrow. We're going to have a really great episode today. We're going to dive deep as we unpack this episode. We look at the tech, the teams, and the transitions as the crews of the USS Discovery and USS Enterprise prepare for this impending final battle with Control. We'll talk cultural politics of Queen Poe, that amazing tech, and of course, all the feels for the crew and the uncertain future.
We are so glad that you're joining this BIWOC, Black, Indigenous, Women of Color Trek conversation. Hello and welcome. So that we can build with each other, how do you enter this conversation as a Star Trek fan? Are you Star Trek curious, a newbie, an OG Trekkie? Star Trekking family, Star Trekking fam, Star Trek daddy, Trek baby. Let us know in the chat.
Awesome. So today's episode of the Trek Table, episode number 30, we are going to talk about Star Trek Discovery, season 2, episode 13, Such Sweet Sorrow, the part 1 of the 2-part end of season cliffhanger series episodes. We're going to explore this episode in a couple of different ways today. Today we're going to ask us some Trek tables. We're going to have a chance to play popcorn recap and see if we could do a 4-peat, maybe a 5-peat. Claudia's here with some Discovery design and questions for that drama. We're going to explore and open up that thematics. We're going to talk a little bit about these teams' transitions and time. And of course, we're going to jump into that spoiler zone, give our final thoughts, and share some gratitude today. We're so excited to have everybody here with us. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue our practice. We're going to move into this next part. Who's at this table today? Who's going to bring their opinion? So we want to invite you to say hello to our audience, those folks listening on the podcast, as well as our friends in the YouTube. What's up? We see you. So Maya, since you gave us the opportunity to think about how we enter these conversations as a Star Trek fan, can I ask you go first? Can you share your name, your pronouns, visual description, access check-in, and how you identify as a fan?
Sure. Thank you. Hello, I'm Maya. I go by she, her, hers. I'm a Guatemalan mestiza, mixed mujer, magenta purplish hair. It's pretty bright today. It likes to change colors sometimes. And today I have some blue turquoise eyeshadow and little designs inspired by the fabulous Queen Poe and her veiny kind of face tattoos. My access check-in, I mean, I'm doing okay. There's just a lot going on in the world, and I'm just hoping all of the connections and the way that we build together, that we just take it one step at a time. I identify as a Star Trek femme these days, and also sci-fi curious, and I'm so happy to be here today.
Awesome. Welcome. Claudia, can I invite you to go next?
Sure. Hi, Claudia. Pronouns they, there, she, hers. Visual description, African-American woman with a big old brown afro sitting on the TOS original. I've got a photo of the original Star Trek right behind me. I'm on the bridge. And my access check-in is there's still a little bit of smoke in the air, so I might grab a tissue and dab my eye if they water a little bit. And also, I'm still in the midst of a physical pain flare. So you might see me pull a face, but I'm rarely pulling a face at your Star Trek opinion. I'm usually pulling a face because one of my muscles is pulling me. Other than that, all of my access needs are met. And I identify as a generational Star Trek lover, and I'm a polyamorous science fiction watcher. Oh yeah, I watch all of it.
Awesome. Welcome. Up next, Maya Mama, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Maya Mama, she, her. I'm a young-looking, middle-aged Black woman. I'm wearing my disco shirt, and I have purple eye makeup and red lips that are shiny. I'm on the Discovery bridge right now. It is the night shift, and everyone is off in bed, so I thought I could do a little podcast. And I identify as a generational Trek, and I am also poly sci-fi. I've been trying to introduce my partner with some new sci-fi, a little Stargate here. I'm thinking maybe a little Farscape later.
Mm-hmm. Okay, some time travel. Yes, thank you, everybody. I can complete this part of our ritual. What's up, everybody? I'm Dayla. My pronouns are she, he, they, and Dayla. Visual check-in. I'm a mixed Filipinx person with some darker blue growing out in my dark brown, black hair. I am sitting in front of, in the middle of the hallway on the USS Discovery since everybody's packing up and going. So I thought I would be a little bit in the hallway. Plus, there's so many good hallway conversations in Disco. And I would just say that, yeah, I came to Star Trek as an 80s baby, watching Next Generation, all the repeats of TOS. And I'm just full-heartedly in love with Star Trek Discovery, and so happy we get to talk about it every week. So while I am sci-fi polyamorous, I am certainly in a main orbit with Discovery. So that's me. I want to welcome everybody and say thanks. If you're watching us in the YouTube, thanks so much for joining us. I see that some friends are already engaging. See you, Puget Zulu, about that Farscape. Yep, that's going on. And we're so happy you're here. So this last part of our ritual is just to talk about what are the agreements? How do we talk to each other as we start to talk about Star Trek? So this last bit of business, we just want to say welcome to all who enter. Whether you're a newbie or you're raised in a Star Trekking family, welcome. Let's build this space together.
Whether you use Trek Table as your nerdy exploration or as part of your self-care ritual, Trek Table is a weekly space to put down the world for a second and come into Trek space.
This is a space for Black, Brown, Indigenous women of color to be a fan, a geek, a nerd, and explore the vastness of the Star Trek multiverse.
Trek Table is also a place for allies to come, engage, and explore as well. This is an opportunity for allies to hold space and focus on insights, perspectives, and experiences that we may not be familiar with.
And now that we are all here, we remind you that we seek to build an environment of mutual respect and listening. We understand we'll disagree, and that is part of the fun, but there is enough hate out there in the world, so please keep your phasers on stun.
Yes, so let's go ahead and breathe those agreements in. Everybody go ahead, take a breath in through your nose. And out through your mouth. Thank you so much.
And that brings us to our first Trek Table question that we will give to our folks assembled here and to all y'all participating in Outside In YouTube channel chat. Poe, Pike, Georgiou, they all have radically different leadership styles. What style do you vibe with and why? So I'm here with our first Trek Table question number 1. Poe, Pike, Georgiou, they have different leadership styles. Which leadership style do you vibe with and why? Let's start with Maya.
Yeah, sure. You know, I always feel like I need different leadership styles for different times, you know, a little mean mommy sometimes, a little youthful, learning from the youth. Poe, I mean, I work with young people. I learn from them all the time. But I really have to say my favorite is topping from the bottom. And I think Pike does that quite a bit. You know, he's a strong leader, but he's also not afraid to ask for the group consensus and encouraging people to rise above. So I like the Silver Fox's style.
Would you say that topping from the bottom is like a servant leadership style model?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't have to, that you are encouraging other people's leadership to shine through while also, you know,
respect for this. Oh, come on. I love how we're thinking about leadership that is in service to what's important. Yes. Maya Mama, how about you? Which leadership style do you vibe with?
Well, I vibe with Pike for when I need support, and also with Georgiou for when I need support, because I'm a complicated person, and so I would want them both there, because sometimes I need someone to hold my hand, and sometimes I need someone to just tell me to, you know, get it done. Yeah, that's why. I like that mean mommy. That was good.
Yeah, that was good. Mean mommy. I might have to write an entire paper on the mean mommy style of leadership. That feels a little too gendered, though. But I do love Georgiou's style of leadership, and it feels parental in some way.
I like the alliteration. That's mainly why the mean mommy comes out. Alliteration.
It's true. All right, Dela, what is the leadership style that you vibe with the most?
I think that I will pick an answer that wasn't off. I feel like, Pike, yes. I was going to say
Poe.
Poe.
Go off the menu.
I was gonna say Poe because we haven't. I mean, I do appreciate. I hope folks had a chance to also see the Runaway episode that Poe was in on Short Treks. I would say Poe, just her growth, but I probably wouldn't say it the way Tilly said it. I think I'm gonna say Michael Burnham. I'm gonna say she's actually servant leadership. She's also always in service of like the mission. I don't know how to. They all are. So, yeah, I feel like this is a misnomer.
No, that's a good. Here's my question for you, Dayla. So Michael Burnham is not the captain, right? So Michael Burnham is always leading, though. Like Michael Burnham is the one that makes a suggestion to fix the problem, and they tend to do the idea that she had. It feels like everything is driven by Michael. Is that? Do you have to be the captain to lead?
No.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I think
all right.
that.
Well, then,
Yeah.
your answer counts. You know, y'all could have been. You could have brought in anyone. You could have brought in Owosekun. Who knows? We don't know how she's leading. She could be leading in an amazing way. Dr. Pollard. We don't know. There are so many stories on Discovery. I'm going to vote for Poe myself. I think Poe, and this is why I like Poe. Poe has clarity. I think Poe has clarity, Poe has power, and Poe is just sticking to her convictions and where it is. There was something about that I liked. Upon reflection, I realized Poe might be a tiny dictator. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about the politics and details of this planet. I might need more information, but based on only this episode, I like Poe because Poe will put herself in danger. She's a leader who will also put herself in danger. Poe all the way.
Do you know who my sister is?
Who? Who your sister?
The planet.
Her planet.
The planet.
That's right. Her sister's the whole planet.
This whole world.
Come on. Come on.
Sister.
That's how you lead. That's how you lead. You're like, I lead with this is my sister I'm leading. Come on.
Right.
And that was Trek Table question number 1.
Trek Table is proud to be a part of the digital theater platform at Outside In Theater. Like and subscribe to the Outside In YouTube channel for our weekly live digital recordings. Listening on the podcast? Check out youtube.com/outsideintheater.
And with that song, Matanzas by Quetzal, with some additional audio from our Trek Table, we know that it's time for Popcorn Recap. The game is simple. We have two shows left to see if we can pull these recaps off. I love it. The game is simple. We have 2.5 minutes to share chunklets of plot from this week's episode.
Yes. So today we're talking about Such Sweet Sorrow, Part 1, directed by Olatunde Osunsanmi, written by Michelle Paradise and Jenny Lumet and Alex Kurtzman.
And we think it's funny because I'm a Star Trek newbie. Claudia and Maya Mama come from a generational Star Trek family, and Dayla loves all the minutia. Can we do it?
Rachel, please set 2.5 minutes on the timer. Can we go for a 4-peat?
Yes. So Sarek is meditating on the beach, and then Amanda comes and has some soup or something for him, and then all of a sudden he says, Michael. And then he's like, oh, we got to go. And then meanwhile, the Discovery has escaped and is rendezvoused with the Enterprise, while the Discovery crew, they have to evacuate, they have to touch ships because Burnham touched the time crystal and realized that they have to do stuff.
Yes, flashes of the future. And then on the bridge of Enterprise, Giorgio hopes to murder Leela Troll, because why not? And see all the tech leave his skin bit by bit. Saru and Pike remotely initiate the self-destruct, but the sphere data takes control of the Discovery systems to prevent it from exploding.
Yeah. And then later, Burnham, she has like another flash. Like, I think this happens if you touch a time crystal. It just gives you flashes of the future where everybody totally dies. Like, they're all dying, so dramatic. And so she knows that, like, what they're trying to do is not going to work. So she's like, yo, we should try this new plan where we take the time crystal and we just, like, totally, like, go whoop, and, like, have the Discovery just go all the way to the future where Control can't get to it.
So then they decide to build the new suit, but the suit, it has like this genetic match built into it, so only Michael can fly it. And so Pike says okay, and then they go back to the ship, and then Spock figures out that Michael was the one who sent the signals, and that's what's going to help him.
And then a new signal appears, leading the Discovery and the Enterprise to the planet of Zakia, which is ruled by Tilly's friend, Queen Mehani Kahalika Po. And Po is a very brilliant teen engineer who recrystallizes the dilithium.
And then Dr. Colbert goes to make up with Stamets, who preemptively says, oh, he'll be leaving Discovery. Forward motion, wah. Dr. Colbert is sad and says he's going to just transfer to the Enterprise. Yeah, of course. Of course, that's what he's going to do. And Stamets is sad. Wah. This is not what Reno advised.
Okay, so Pro helps Stamets and Tilly and Reno prepare the suit and the time crystal for the journey, and it's going to use up all the power, though, of the spore drive, so they won't be able to fight with the spore drive, and also the crystal's going to burn it all out, so Michael won't be able to come back from the future.
So then her mama and papa, they fly in and they say goodbye, and then she watches a video of her mama and she practices.
And Poe won't leave, and then Ash has to kiss Burnham goodbye.
And the crew decides to stay with Burnham. Oh, that's our goodbyes. Oh my god.
And then so close.
Very, very close.
We did so good. I feel partially responsible because I started us off a little slow. But one or two last little chunklets of what happened in this show. Claudia, did you finish all the things?
Okay, so we were at Pike and saying goodbye, and Non says they're going to stay on the ship. But the crystal, it's charging super slow, so Reno has to go help to fix it. But she's going to risk herself seeing a future vision by helping to help it to charge fast. And then Ash leaves because he has to go do something important that he needs to be trusted for. What's that about? And then Georgiou tells Pike that she knows about the mirror universe, and Pike is all like, I don't even.
Yeah. And then
and
the
last
ship shows up, and then it's like, prepare for battle.
All right, so we're at that cliffhanger. We got super close. I'm seeing love in the chat. So yeah, we're gonna try.
Yeah.
We have one more.
We did
next
so
week.
good. We had three in a row, y'all. We were so good.
I'm proud of us.
Yes. And, if you're looking for a more in-depth act-by-act breakdown of this episode, we invite you to check out the recap at Women at Warp. Jara Hodge did this week's recap and has done several. And we just want to drop that link in the chat. It's also on the screen and in your episode notes.
And if you've been having a good time, like we continue to do, win or lose, let's keep this dialogue going. Like and follow us on Instagram at TrekTable, all one word, and then on Twitter at Trek_table.
Welcome to Discovery Design. We're going to dish on these design elements, giving us all this drama. Y'all, did y'all see the Discovery and the Enterprise fully hooking up? I didn't even know that ships could do that with each other.
I'm really happy for them. And I'm sorry that they're going to have to, that they eventually split up in this episode.
I love the gangway technology. I love how the blue force field, the shield is around them. Oh, I love that shot of Pike and Zuru walking across the gangways trying to get transferred onto the Enterprise. Yeah, just super intimate too. I feel like for the first time I saw the ships as organic beings, like connecting. So
yes. Well, and also it just felt very analog. Oh, go ahead, Maya.
Well, yeah, that's what I was also thinking too. I was like, wait, why do they have to, and how can they do this in space, and where is up and where is down? But then it would be a lot to try to beam everything that they need. I mean, they're grabbing plants, they're grabbing little, I thought I saw Tilly grab not only a picture of her and Burnham, but like maybe a little snow globe or something. Mm-hmm. So lots of things to carry you need a gangway. You need that connection.
And you were just talking about there's no up or down in space. Now, we've been experiencing these gorgeous shots where I suggested in a previous episode they might have some very expensive cameras that they just want to keep on using. But I make this joke. But we keep getting to see the back end of the ship, and there is no up or down, and that's gorgeous. You just get these kind of sick landing shots in the back of the ship. It's amazing. I know we're not going to be doing a full Discovery fashion this week. Could we talk about the costumes for just a quick second right now? Because the colors, not only the colors on the costumes, but the colors on it's like they match the bridge a little bit. Like it's all color coordinated. They have an entire conversation about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's the original series, gold, reds, and blues. They're so rich and vibrant. The color of the Enterprise is super vibrant. The background, even on the bridge, you could tell the buttons are even designed similar to the original series. The reddish orange of like the consoles, all of that, it really blends and sort of, but also pops in a very kind of pop art way. That has a Discovery feel to it for sure, but because we've got so much more to invested in the effects, right? But and also the fashion, but it harkens back.
I think that this is also like this is a switch now to this new type of ship that is not they're no longer soldiers. They're explorers, they're diplomats. And so they don't need these
Utilitarian.
This ship that is built for soldiers because the war is over. And it's time to get out there and see what's happening and all that jazz. So that's what I was saying with the new bridge.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Now, the colors that their color scheme is apparently vermilion, purple, powder blue, neon pink, orange, and bright green. That is apparently the color scheme. So if you're going to make a makeup palette that was the TOS makeup palette, those would be the colors. Now that
I'm sure someone did.
We can also celebrate that they proudly are like no more holograms. They're anti-holograms. This has been a plot point. And number one, I think, is like, no more holograms forever.
Well, I think Pike really is the one who's like, oh, I hate those holographic things. They give me the heebie-jeebies. So she, I have to say, number one, she is always prepared. So yeah, she was very excited to tell him that, and that she had retrofitted all the shuttles with a full complement of weapons. And I brought the other experimental stuff on board too. So we're cool. I gave you like 5 more minutes.
Number one's my favorite character. Well, actually, maybe Poe will be my favorite character. Could we have a spinoff with Poe and number one? Because let's talk a little bit about Poe, because Poe had some funky science going on. It was pretty.
Yeah, definitely. I loved how when she built that time crystal, reactor, basically, it looks organic. It also looks technical, like a machine. Just super interested.
Ooh. Are those hexagons holding it together? I don't know. The geometry versus the natural. But yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to jump over you.
Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah, no, go ahead.
Oh, I also loved the part where you had Burnham. Maya, you were mentioning this in the recap, where Burnham was learning how to fly from watching her mom. That fully reminded me of Galaxy Quest. Do you remember that episode? That scene?
I don't, but I just love lots
Captain.
of
Paddle to the metal.
Yes. Old Tommy.
Yes.
Pedal to the metal, Commander.
Yes. Well, and I just feel like, and then number one says to her, like, so we build the suit. Can you even fly it? She's like, yeah. I totally, maybe it's hard to open a wormhole, but I'm going to figure that out. Like, I love the willingness to just trust the science. She's trusting the science.
I feel like she's just like all of us. If you ask me to do something, I'm like, I'll watch a YouTube video. No problem. It's all good. I can do it. I fixed my uncle's fridge fully from just like watching a YouTube video. What?
There you go.
Teach a headlamp assembly by just watching a YouTube. So, yeah.
So we were talking about some of these gorgeous shots. The outside shot that went into the window. Dayla, I think you were mentioning that. That was pretty.
Yeah, I think also my mama was into the shot too, but just when Sarah and Amanda are leaving and their shuttlecraft, there's kind of this multi-reflection shot of Burnham saying goodbye, and here's Sarek's, and that felt like I want a poster of that, so I need to do some research and understand, is that a poster available? I mean, I want more of Burnham's face, but I just felt like it was such a beautiful image of what this episode is about in terms of, parting is such sweet sorrow, and the Shakespeare line that I think it comes from. So yeah. And I want to give nods. I do think that some of these spinny camera angles are very Alice in Wonderland inspired.
Well, and didn't we learn about the Vulcan hello? So I guess this is like a real Vulcan goodbye. Aw.
Yeah. I was like, oh yes. Can we talk a little bit about how, like, when we were seeing all these flashes, like, people were falling and there was all this, like, I know it's not really designed, but the physics of the flash forward, and like, Saru's like flying over a panel. And
oh no, this is designed. This is 100% designed.
Tell me about that.
Well, we talked a little bit about this because we got very excited. This was like last season or a season ago where we got so excited about not Riker. I'm so sorry, Jonathan Frakes. I don't know Jonathan Frakes. I call him Johnny like we're friends. It's inappropriate. So the director, Jonathan Frakes, he apparently gave people choreography and stuff to be like, so what's they must need a stunt choreographer to tell them, like, oh, you're gonna like leap this way and there's gonna be sparks and like it'll be an explosion, to like be like, oh, we'll add the sparks in post. I don't know.
And there's definitely a pad or something for him to just appreciating all the stunt work on this show, I guess, is really where it's going, is just the choreography of it, the way their bodies are moving, and I really, I don't know, did anybody else feel like I did not want to see anybody go down like that? So I'm really happy that they fixed this issue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I just noticed there was like a different way that everybody fell too, right? And Saru's for me was the most like dramatic, almost falling over a console, whereas Owosukun just sort of slumps down. And I don't know, was she shot right in the head? I mean, that was super dramatic. And then of course Burnham is last, like trying to, but it's futile, but of course she doesn't want it to happen that way. But yeah, it was interesting how they fell differently from the shots, from the little pew pew.
But the one gun was like it was like pew pew. Was it?
Right.
Well, I do think though that these pieces of physical choreography, they're part of the storytelling and they're part of the design, and they impact how we absorb the story. Like if they were leaping around wild, I believe that we would think that's unrealistic and it might take us out of the moment. Now, I have a question that I want to ask y'all about. I'm not even sure if this is design, right? But I've been thinking a lot about Poe and the dilithium, and Poe's. So Poe has the ability to recrystallize dilithium. This is a major, major big deal. In all of this society, they have to find the dilithium. It's an unrenewable resource. They have to find it and mine it or something. And that's that's one of the drama points in the original series. They got to find that dilithium.
So I think that's why she develops the technology, because the planet is her sister. She doesn't want to see it mined so that there is no more dilithium. So she figures out the technology to be able to renew it, to help save the planet. It's conservation. And it's more because of the relationship that Zakians have with the planet, because in that thing they say that they were born at the same time in that short track. So I just think that has a lot to do with it. I don't know exactly how their queen becomes queen, how that works, but I just think that it's supposed to be good.
Well, it feels like there's something indigenous in the ways that she has a relationship, and even in the scene where you have Tilly complimenting her and saying, "I love this technology." She describes it as weird and bizarre, and Poe gives her a look. Poe is like, in that moment, I clock that Poe, even though Poe is a child, Poe is actually so much wiser and older than Tilly, and understands with a. I felt like in that moment I saw a moment that many leaders of color I've witnessed before, where somebody who doesn't get it is like, "This is great," and they're like, "I'm glad you like it. You still don't totally get it, but I'm glad you like it."
Yeah, no, definitely. And there was that moment where, I mean, completely referencing the short trek where Tilly and Poe meet, and the place that Poe is in terms of her ascension to her throne and feeling comfortable and confident. I also think we've been able to see Poe between that and this episode really take, she says, I've made, the great thing about being the leader is that I've outlawed snark, so I don't have to listen to snark. So Poe also starts to show us kind of how she's centered herself and really kind of accepted the mantle of her leadership, and also in her interactions with Pike, and just watching the way that he greets her and he says her name, and he's here we see him on screen for those of us on the YouTube. We're seeing this image of Pike and Burnham and Tilly in the transporter room, and the way Pike tries to greet her and follow protocol and speak her whole name, and she sets up that most people don't speak it, so she's clocking when he's learning her name, she's clocking that the way he's treating her. And I just really appreciate that we get to see, Poe is another one of these amazing women leaders on the show who is able to handle her business and really show up for what she wants, and even like make Giorgio hold the ceremony.
Yes, and she's not going to let anybody just take this technology from her. Like, we know, spoiler alert, we know that at some point, all of Starfleet figures out how to do this, recrystallizing this. So something must happen between this time and that. But she's not telling people how to do it yet, and that feels like it's resisting colonialism or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've borrowed or stolen indigenous technology, since there was contact in between, colonial nations and and indigenous nations. I think our ideas about what technology is, sometimes we just think it's like, oh, it's like a computer, or I don't know, a train being able to go take goods back and forth across the lands. But technology is also being able to figure out how to feed large groups of people, build large, the structures, all of this, we've stolen a lot of that, or borrowed, incorporated, whatever, so I think that's also another thing of like, what do you mean this is weird technology? This is something that you probably might need at some point. So we're going to be a little bit careful because of what we know about that history.
Oh, thank you for that brilliant point, Maya. Yes, yes, and yes. And that brings us to the close of our conversation about discovery design.
And if you want to I want to take a moment to give a shout out to all our podcast listeners. Thank you for your support as we grow this little show that could. Your likes and subscribes keep us going. If you've just got a little second, send us a tweet at Trek Table. It's at Trek_table, and let us know your thoughts about discovery design using #DiscoDesign.
And as we head into our musical break, we got Trek Table question number 2. What is your favorite Burnham Tyler kiss? That's right, we're doing an Ash kiss vote. Which Ash kiss did you love the most? The time loop kiss, the Pavin kiss, or this last kiss of all time? So this episode, we are voting on our favorite Ash kiss. Which kiss of Ash did we love the most? What's your favorite Michael Burnham, Ash Tyler kiss? We've got the time loop episode. We've got the Pavin kiss. We got actually, I didn't tell you about the kiss that was like, they had a kiss that they thought was their last kiss, but it wasn't their last kiss. So there's a lot of kisses we could vote on. I'd love your opinions. Let's start with you, Dela. Dela, give me some kisses.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
why music's happening, but I love it.
Yes, I'm super excited.
Okay, and now
Thank
I'm
you.
back. Dela, what was your favorite Ash kiss of all time?
My favorite Ash kiss, I will say, is it's a tie between their very first kiss in the time loop episode, Love and Happiness. But I would also, I also love the Pavin kiss. So I'm gonna choose the time loop kiss, the very first kiss.
The kiss that
they
never
had.
was. The kiss that happened and then was unmade. Ooh, that actually makes sense since they've got some time travel shenanigans about to happen. How about you,
Yes.
Maya Mama? What's your favorite kiss? Your favorite kiss?
Pavon!
I see what you did there. You were doing a reference. You were doing a reference to
It's like
Khan when
it
Kurt
is on the
Kurt
show.
was yelling Khan.
Mhm.
That's a totally different show actually, and our audience might not get that
It's
reference,
okay.
but
It's
I was
okay.
here for it. It was really funny. Maya, oh yes.
There's just something just really, dominant about that I dig. I think it's good.
Okay. Yeah, he's like, oh, kiss me. Come here. Maya, what's your favorite kiss out of all the Ash kisses?
Every time you say Ash kisses, I giggle. First of all, yeah, I like all of the kisses. The first one was super tender, but it's super drama that she's about to leave, and they're like, yeah, and I'm staying, and I'm gonna walk away, and then I'm gonna run back into your embrace and kiss. So I appreciated that. It's like she still has love for him. They both have love for each other. They want to protect each other, but they're gonna, go into different time zones, basically.
You love all the kissing. You're telling me you love every single Ash kiss that there was, all of them. That's beautiful. That's such a good answer.
I'm glad that Burnham's getting some too. That's
well,
nice.
that is nice. That is nice. I sometimes do wonder and worry about these Star Trek characters, and I'm like, how long has it been for you? I'm curious. I worry about you. Here's my take on this question is, I actually have to admit I wasn't totally into the Ash Tyler Michael Burnham romance, which made no sense to me because the actor who plays is it Latinx? I just know that actor is bananas attractive. Like he does that for a living and he does it really well. Like he's looking good. So I couldn't figure out why I wasn't into it. Then I realized it was actually a character thing. I don't like them together as a couple, right? But I love the romance. I love the will they won't they. They've got this gorgeous tension. So my favorite kiss is the one she runs back for. That's the last one I will ever have to experience. No romances! I hope. He says he's not going to the future. Well, I guess we're going to find out what happens. And that was Trek Table question number 2. And for our podcast listeners, we'd love for you to jump in here, share what you think. You can add us on Twitter at Trek Table. For context, you can consider adding hashtag TT30 or hashtag Star Trek Discovery or hashtag Fave Kiss. And now is the point of the show when we are going to have a dance break. So let's invite everyone and head into our thematics dance break. To the Spock.
Oh, it's dancing.
Shift and move and search, we feel all and manifest. Slide from uncertainty and lunge into intent. Interminable imaginaries guided by ancestor strength.
I'm gonna do the Odo.
No one's government. We below into the left more. We see more. Whose life is this more?
Awesome, and welcome back to the thematic section of our Trek table. Thanks for that extended little dance party there. Super excited, everybody. I was like, oh, it's time to dance. I was so excited. So we want to take this part of the show in thematics and go ahead and braid together all of these different conversations. And I'm super excited. We got a little bit of a extended discovery design episode as we kind of talked about those implications for Zahia and Queen Poe. So thank you all for that. All right, so topic number one, I wanna just jump back to this time crystal business and not necessarily talk about Queen Poe, but could we talk a little bit about the politics of like who's touching them? So now Pike has seen, Burnham has touched it, and we see Reno by the end of this episode. She's also got her hands on it. Poe's got the protection of the, I hate to call it the thingamajig, the converter that she is working on. So she kind of gets to hold it too, but she doesn't get the actual effects of it. And of course, Tanavik, he held it when he gave it to Pike. So I just wanted to check in and see thoughts about this and the time crystal. Maya Mama, thoughts here about this topic?
Well, I mean, I do wonder what's going to happen, because Reno seems to be the person, other than Pike, that has held on to it the longest. We don't know how long that she held on to it. Like, that was she had to send everyone out of the room, and like, what kinds of things will it be? But also, I mean, it seems like if anyone is alone, that they just touch it. So I'm also wondering if other crew members, like security people or whatever, have just been like,
Do you think they would just touch it to be like, I want to find out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to like want people to touch it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Awesome. Maya, what say you?
You know, it's interesting because Pike, his touching the crystal seems to have a choice, right, of whether he can change his future or if he takes the actual crystal. It's all about him embracing, you know, what he sees about his future, good or bad. But it seems like everybody else who gets to touch it afterwards, maybe not as much consequence in that, you know, that kind of seeing the future. They actually get to try to affect change with a little help with, you know, with maybe what happens in the next episode. But he touched it, she touched it, they all touch it. It's anarchy.
Okay. Claudia, what say you?
I think that actually there are two different things that took place. So there was like a ritual that took place on that planet, and that was when he saw that future. That was a future that could have been changed, and it was the act of breaking the crystal off and him taking it and like in that way that locked in his future. For everyone else, what they're seeing are possibilities. Just like this is what the future holds for you right this second. You can change something, and then the future will hold something different. I love it. It makes my mind wrinkle though when you think about like different time, multiple dimensions. But it opens up so many beautiful storytelling possibilities.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I appreciate that delineation and just even these questions about who gets to touch the time crystal and yes. So thank you, Claudia, for helping us think about like what was happening, the ritual on Boreth versus what's happening right now, where because the crystal is showing people the future. I think the question is, can we change it? Can we? And right now the show is engineering towards yes, we all still have the opportunity. We heard it when we met Mama Burnham and she got sucked back to the future and Spock's affirmations to Burnham. So just really appreciating. And then kind of what Pike was able to say is that everybody plays their part, destinies being what they are. And so I think that's really powerful as we think about this next kind of idea in terms of teams. I think topic number 2 today for thematics is this idea, exploring how the teams in the show are working towards this resolution, trying to help solve, you know, the set of problems in front of us right now, knowing that imminent battle is coming. I'm curious about folks' thoughts about, we see the bridge team's got stuff. We get to go into the Pike's ready room on the USS Enterprise. So we're seeing a different kind of vibe from his ready room on the Disco versus where his ready room is right now on Enterprise. We're seeing Stamets and Tilly and Reno having their little science fam together to try to get this time crystal going. So, could we talk a little bit about the teams and some of the business? I'm wondering, Maya Chinchilla, thoughts about how these teams are working together and trying to help us get safely into the next part of our story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Tilly and Poe, it's like buddies back together again, learning from each other, we can win. But
Whole song.
I don't know. It just came to me. I know. I feel like a hologram. I'm using a different computer today, so all the kinds of things are coming through me. But I mean, it's just sort of fun to see them break off and there's lots to do. There's a not only to figure out how to actually power the spacesuit, but yeah, it's like, can they do it? And everybody has their job.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Maya Mama, I'm gonna come to you next. Thoughts about these teams? Favorite team so far?
So I really loved Tilly and Reno and Stamets, like their little deep talk and then the decision for Reno to stay behind. But really my number one favorite is the command conversation in the ready room where Jojo suggests detonating a star, and then they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And she's like, I thought there were no bad ideas here. And they're like, that was a lie. That was wrong. That's what Cornwall and Pike say. They're like, no, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, that was bad. Yeah. And thank you for that. Yeah. So, and I think it really gives us an opportunity again, to think about these leadership models. I appreciate that on the Trek table question, we got to think about whose leadership style are we most into. And there's so much happening that even amidst this, even the way that people kind of say goodbye to each other also shows us a little bit about leadership, tells us a little bit about the teams. And I just want to say, as we transition from topic 2 about teams, I want to think a little bit about these transitions. So there's, all of the goodbye that Burnham has to do, knowing that she's the one. I think we go through so many people are processing the fact that she has to be the chosen one. She is the one. She is the one in the suit. Like and just even hearing Pike and Spock talk about the intelligence of the design of the signals, I thought was really exciting. So this is kind of the transition part of thematics and talking about all of the transitions we witnessed on this episode. Them saying goodbye to Discovery only to come back, but the crew who are going to the future with Burnham, and their goodbyes, Burnham's individual, all the family goodbyes that Burnham's got to do, the multiple goodbyes. So let's chunk in here for this last couple of minutes of thematics. Claudia, what say you about this topic of transitions and
I'm a genius. You brought up this topic, and I suddenly recalled what the title was, and I understood what it meant. I was like, oh, it's referencing that it's a Shakespeare thing. Parting. It's parting. It's about parting. That's what Such Sweet Sorrow is. It's parting that's such sweet. I only got it because you asked this question around the theme of parting. So thank you for that. The letter writing scene where they're all writing letters. I was struck and curious. I'm always so curious. Did it felt like perhaps the actors were involved somehow in either improvising material or maybe coming up with ideas, or maybe they just had maybe there were just real intense character details that were shared with the writers, but it felt real. Either that or just the writing was going great and the acting was going great. But really beautiful scene. And I always like I'm writing letters before the war scene. They did it well.
Yes, thank you for that. Maya, what say you in these transition conversations?
I mean, it's always a question of is this really goodbye this time? I mean, they actually get to say goodbye. Sarek and Amanda actually get to say goodbye. But Sarek, expects or is basically tell Spock for me that I'm going to keep my distance. So that helps to link back to, the storyline that we already know of from other series. And it's just really interesting that we get that closure, because we've seen so much about the relationship between Sarek and Burnham, and also Amanda, and so I don't know. This must be really it for it. I just have to say though, Burnham was the last one on the ship. So I was just at first, I did have a moment where I was like, did she do something so the ship couldn't blow up because of what she saw? But I don't know. That was just a fleeting moment that I had at the end.
And I would honor that. I think she was not the last on the ship. She was one of the last, but it literally, I believe, was Pike and Saru who were last across the gangway. So a little bit of clarity support there. Awesome. I appreciate that so much. My mama, your thoughts on this topic and transitions?
Well, this I really liked Tilly's talk with her mother. I like the reference to the short trek where her mother was essentially telling her that she wasn't going to be able to make it through the command training program and that she should just give up because she doesn't want her to be disappointed. And so the way that Tilly says, I know that you might not have been proud of me, but I'm proud of me. And I think that you would respect that. I just thought it was really, really lovely.
Yeah, there's so much. And I just appreciate that we're really in the chunk of what this show, like we're getting resolution to all these big questions we've been wondering for a really long time in terms of who's the Red Angel and where is this all leading, and so just really, and then just what you said, Claudia, like, really feeling that Shakespeare text of parting is such sweet sorrow. And so just watching Tilly, even we're seeing a shot on screen right now of Tilly saying, going to their room and saying, Michael, you didn't even like bother, you announced you're leaving forever and I'm not even there to like hug and kiss you and drag on your boots and tell you not to go. And so just to honor all these relationships as found family that we've built. And I just want to shout out to the Space Daddies, Culber and Stamets, like Space Daddy Hugh just trying to show up and then Stamets being like, I don't know how to react to you. I don't know what feeling. So I'm looking forward to us seeing them next episode and some of the things that happen to them. But just really feeling that almost connection, that they're almost back to each other. So I think this, just really grateful to this episode, excited about it. And I just want to say, like, I could ramble on about it, but thematics would not be complete if we did not go into a spoiler zone. So if you are listening, we're going to take about 2.5 minutes in the spoiler zone. If you're watching, we're going to do a little bit of red flash and you can come back when we have the green alert back. So Rochelle, can you take us into the spoiler zone?
Incoming transmission.
All right. So I have a couple things, but I want to open Claudia. I guess the thing I want to say in spoiler zone is just, Stamets and Culber having their moments and making us wait all the way until the final episode. I feel I'm feeling it and I'm waiting for it. And I'm appreciating the way that Reno has tried to intervene. And just watching these moments, we talked about it in recap, but just watching these moments where they almost don't really find each other. And so
but here's the thing. That was him trying to like do the right thing though. That was actually Stamets being solid, being like, yo, you told me your boundaries. You asked for what you needed. I'm letting you know. I'm giving you everything you wanted. Mm-hmm. And I could see what was going on. That was two people who thought they were giving each other what they needed, when in fact they didn't. They were saying the wrong thing. I feel like I did a spoiler earlier in the show, but I now can't remember what I spoiled. But I was talking about something where I was like, Claudia, stop talking about that. You're going to spoil something.
So I keep thinking about the merge data with the ship and what's going to happen with that. So I think of Calypso, the short trek.
The short trek.
Which is, I think that the computer program, I think that the ship is the data. I think that's the sphere data in the future, that it becomes a sentient person. And the crew's not there for some reason or another. We might find that out later. I just think that it's really, really interesting.
And her name is Zora or Nora. Isn't that the name of the ship?
Yes.
That's what they call Zora. Zora. And then just, really fascinating, beautiful connect to AI. Yeah, just all, I feel like there's a larger conversation maybe we should have next episode about, data and AI and is the ship alive? I feel like this episode, I feel like the ship is already starting to be a being, right?
Yeah, it's inching towards sentience. It's starting to get those things. Maybe it might not be completely sentient, but it's inching towards those things in a way that control is not. In a way that you would encourage.
I just can't wait for season 4. I'm hoping that season 4 is going to. I'm hungry for some plot points that help me understand why season 2 happened. I need more plot. Okay, this is me asking the writers to write me things.
Right. Icon has story?
Transfer of data is complete.
Awesome. Welcome back to Maya Chinchilla and all of those folks watching us on YouTube and listening on the podcast. Hi, welcome back. We just finished Spoiler Zone. And Maya, this is an opportunity to share your doodle that you were able to make during Spoiler Zone.
Well, I had a couple different ideas, but this is actually maybe it's supposed to be some plants from Saru's room, which I also have in my background today, covered with plants. So I was thinking he didn't take any plants with him, you know?
So he took a knife.
3 plants.
Variety is real.
In the future, yeah.
He
did take a knife. Absolutely.
He did. So Rana's knife. I love it. Well, thank you so much, Maya, for those plants. I thought you were drawing the plants that were on the Talosian 4, Talos 4, the singing flowers. That's what I thought it was.
Oh, yes.
But I already did that one.
Yeah,
she already did draw those.
Yeah, so I'm seeing the series. Awesome. So we want to say thank you everybody. These were our thoughts for thematics for Star Trek Discovery season 2, episode 13, Such Sweet Sorrow, part 1.
If you are enjoying this conversation, please support us at patreon.com/TrekTable.
And now we're going to be heading into our final Trek Table question, number 3. We were just talking about this. Saru brought a knife. What would you take with you during a ship-wide evacuation if you could only have one item? Welcome back. So we're asking, if you had to leave during a ship-wide evacuation and you could only take one item, what would that one item be? Saru brought a knife. I'm just going to keep talking about it because I love it so much. What would you bring? Maya, what would you bring?
I would bring the little small thumb drive that has all my pictures and videos. My memories, a la Arium. I know there's got to be a small portable version of that.
Okay. I had joked that I would bring a replicator. But here's the thing, I wouldn't need to do that. I'm guessing the ship already has one. Dela, what would you bring?
I'm really intrigued by Spock's little pad that he has, his digital pad from childhood that Burnham took out of his that he's throwing the stars up and the red dragon from the previous episode. So yeah, I would bring that. I'd bring my iPad or my tablet from the future that has I'd bring my unreplicatable things.
Maya Mama, what would you bring? One item only.
Well, one item and one item only. Number one, nothing can be replicated technically because I don't think the replicating technology exists. They have fabrication technology and they have food dispensers. So I would take anything that could not be digitized already or refabricated. I don't. I love my stuff, but I don't really care about most of my stuff. So because it's just stuff, and I can get new stuff. So it would just be anything that is solid, tangible that I can't replace.
That's a really good answer. Yeah, I feel like if I was in Star Trek, it would probably be something that was sentimental and a personal item that connected me to my family and my friends, rather than an actual item to be used, since I feel like I'd be confident I could get that. And also I feel like my diaries would be in the Starfleet cloud. I'm guessing, like, because they must not save them all just on the ship. They must be sent out on the Starfleet internet, I'm guessing. Go ahead.
Does it all go back to Memory Alpha? Is that the Star Trek? Is that the Federation cloud?
Yes, that must be it. It
That's
all
what I
goes to
wondered.
Memory Alpha, I'm guessing. Well, thank you for indulging us in this beautiful question. And those were our Trek Table questions for this Season 2, Episode 13, Such Sweet Sorrow, Part 1.
All right, and we want to say thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this 30th episode of the Trek Table. We're so excited we got to talk about this Star Trek Discovery episode 13 of season 2. And as is the case, we always like to share our final thoughts. So, Maya Mama, I'm going to ask you to go first. Your final thought for this episode?
Who cares what they think? Be proud of yourself. I just really love that. She spent years just trying to prove herself, and then decides that she doesn't have anything to prove. I think that that's really beautiful and really wonderful.
Thank you. Maya, your final thought for this episode?
Yeah, just the moments, the tender moments, the who would you call, in that moment? Who would you need to say goodbye to if you were going to go off into the future? And I'm very much in a moment of life is so damn precious, and people are struggling and say things. It's maybe hard, but say things to the people that you need to say them to, and call them, check in on them and check in on yourself, So I appreciated those little small tender moments in this episode.
Thank you. Claudia, your final thought for this episode?
All right. Well, Maya shared something beautiful, and it's made me want to change what my final thought is. So my new final thought is everyone should do the letter writing exercise. You should all think about, like, what would you do if you were on Discovery and it's about to be flipped to the future? You got to write a letter. You got to write a letter because Control's about to get you. You got to write that letter. What's in that letter? Just right now, in the world that we're living in right now, that feels like such a smart and good exercise to do. So write your Starfleet letters. Write them today.
I love it. I will say that my final thought is just thinking about Burnham, thinking about Queen Poe, thinking about Georgiou and Number One, Admiral Cornwell, Tilly, Commander Non. I just think about all these women. And I said it earlier in the show, but just really thinking about all the women in Discovery. I mean, even Laurel, she's, Chancellor of the Klingons. Like, there's just some really interesting, I just appreciate the opportunity to witness leadership and witness women's leadership in lots of different ways, and what it means to see a table with multiple folks around it, contributing and weighing in and trying not to cut each other down, but really try to find the solution. So I'm just resonating on that and appreciating the moments when Captain Pike really has to lean into not being the center and really trying to support a better solution and not a better ego. And I'm really resonating on that right now. So that would be my final thought for this episode. And those are all of our final thoughts for Star Trek Discovery, Season 2, Episode 13, Such Sweet Sorrow. All right, so thank you all so much. We're in the gratitude section of our show. We want to say thank you so much for joining us at the Trek Table. Get first looks at our Trek Table question, inside scoops, and more when you sign up for our mailing list at trektablepodcast.com.
And you can find our Trek Table podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcasts.
Like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube so you can get more Trek Table in your algorithms outside in theater.
Like and subscribe to us on Instagram at Trek Table and on Twitter at Trek_table.
Yes, and finally, I'd love to say thank you to our Trek Table Assembled. Thank you so much for holding down this ritual with us today. We want to say thank you to our co-hosts, Claudia Alec, Maya Chinchilla, and Maya Mills-Lowe. I just want to say thank you for always sharing your insights and especially for taking some time with us today to explore this episode. As we start to wrap up, I just want to remind us that when we started, we were holding Trek space for all of the strong women scientific leaders in this episode and always on Star Trek Discovery. We were holding Trek space for the weird, bizarre, and beautiful. We were holding Trek space for those who are struggling even when the world is expecting you to move on. And we're holding Trek space for the second part of this, of life's cliffhangers, as well as maybe the second part of this episode. So yes, and in the chat, we're holding Trek space for folks who feel alone, holding you close. The Trek Table executive producers are Allison Dela Cruz and Luzmi Mindajariwala, production coordinator Brendan Chang, artist coordinator and stream manager Ariana Michelle, OBS operator Rochelle Wasserman, social media manager Isil Borlasa, and our social media associate Jimena Martinez.
Deep gratitude and thanks to Outside In Theater.
Thanks to our partners at Visual Communications, Francis, Abe, and the whole crew. Congratulations on the LA Asian Pacific Film Festival.
Trek Table is a service mark of De La Projects, LLC.
Yes, and we want to say thank you so much for joining us today at the Trek Table. We are going to go ahead and close this ritual. Go ahead and take a breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. And just before I close, just to say, if you're feeling like you need some laughs and you still want to talk some Star Trek, tonight at 7 o'clock on the Outside In YouTube channel, you can catch the Improvised Generation on our Sunday night improv show. So I just want to share that. You missing us already? Trek Table is going to come back next Sunday for one final episode in this season 2 of the Trek Table as we close out the season and we talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 2, Episode 14, Such Sweet Sorrow, Part 2. So, don't worry, we'll be back here next Sunday, October 10th at 4 o'clock Pacific time, here on the Outside In YouTube channel. We'll be holding Trek space for you until then. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great week. We look forward to seeing you then.